I decided that it would be a great idea to render this video in the interlaced scanning method just for fun. What have I gotten myself into? Hello and welcome to DuoTech. I am your host for today, Harry, and in today's video we are going to be looking at progressive versus interlaced. If you've used an editing software before, you have probably seen these two options in your rendering settings, progressive and interlaced. Now, I'm going to distinguish the differences between both of them in today's video, but first we need to look at the notation, or how these are generally shown on editing software. So progressive video usually displays the vertical resolution in pixels with a lowercase p, and then after that's the frame rate of said video. For example, a 1920 by 1080 video at 60 frames per second that is progressive would be displayed as 1080p 60, assuming that it is the 16 by 9 aspect ratio. Interlaced does pretty much the same thing, but it replaces the lowercase p with a lowercase I to signify the word interlaced. Interlaced is a little bit hard to explain, but I will honestly try my best. So you have two video frames. One is scanned for every other row of pixels, every odd row of pixels, and the frame ahead is scanned for every even pixels. These two are spliced together to create a quote-unquote transition frame, and this gives the illusion that the video has more frames per second than it actually does. So in the case of a, for example, 1080i 60 video, it's actually 30 frames captured that are more spliced together to give the illusion that it's really 60 frames per second. Now, if this was the only difference between progressive and interlaced, interlaced would be pretty popular and not totally obsolete by now. But of course, there are some disadvantages which led interlaced down that route. So first of all, the biggest glaring issue with interlaced is there is a noticeable flicker, because obviously there's two different frames being shown. It creates a little bit of distortion. In order to counteract this, people have induced a blur on purpose to their video, to their displays, to make this flicker less noticeable. But this has the obvious downside of decreasing the actual video quality, which in itself isn't that great of a trade-off. Another thing that interlacing has a severe issue with is motion. So when you have two frames that are joined together and something is moving quickly, the thing will be in a different position the frame ahead than it is in the one previous. So it would create this disjointed effect. This is called combing, and this is usually attempted to be counteracted by with de-interlacing, where the frames are attempted to be realigned to make them seem more conjoined than the actual de-interlaced video makes it look. This is designed to make an interlaced video look less interlaced than it actually is. I'll give an example here. If I wave on this interlaced video, you could probably see some fragmenting in my hand if you look closely enough, but maybe not. Maybe if I wave it faster, you may be able to tell. Now, there is one benefit that interlaced brings to the table, which is why it's not totally unheard of by today's standards. It's pretty rare, but it's still out there. Effectively, what it does is it doubles the perceived frame rate of the video without actually hogging any extra bandwidth than a progressive video of half the frame rate. This is interesting because old technology didn't have that good of bandwidth, and those that did were really expensive at the time, so interlaced was actually really beneficial. However, times have definitely changed, and new technology generally can support higher frame rates, higher quality video, so this kind of advantage isn't really that useful anymore. And that's really the only benefit that Interlaced brings to the table, and as you might be able to tell, that leaves it to become quite obsolete. By today's standards, you may find the occasional really low-end crappy TV having an interlaced display, but pretty much everything else you will find in the modern day will be progressive. So all new monitors, all new TVs, all new smartphones, the chances are you are watching this on a progressive display. Progressive is, again, what I said, it's what you're watching this on right now, most likely. Effectively, this is a lot easier to explain. It's just the frames as they are captured one by one after another, and the frame rate determines how many of these newly captured frames are displayed in every second. Now, this has the big advantage of basically not having every disadvantage that Interlace has. Since it doesn't have any interlace flickering, it doesn't have to counteract it by inducing a blur, meaning that the quality is overall a lot sharper than interlaced. Now, the one disadvantage, again, is counteracted by the fact that modern technology is able to account for it, but it generally, at the same frame rate, or same perceived frame rate, hogs double the bandwidth of an interlaced display. Overall, progressive is far superior to interlaced in terms of scanning method, and that's pretty much the end of that discussion. So if you did enjoy today's video and or found it helpful, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and possibly even subscribe for more. If you really liked it, then make sure to send to your friends, your computer science class, anything that can get us a little bit of exposure, because trust me, we kind of need that right now. We're starting out. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we might catch you next week for another video if you decide to come back. I'm not going to make any assumptions there. Bye!